Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Litecoin. This is going to be a lower time frame video. We do have our higher time frame video up above, so check that out if you haven't already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, before we get into the lower time frame counts, we're going to go over a couple of the ideas that we're looking for on the macro. Now, we are looking for the potential that this could be a bigger corrective structure still, where we could still see an additional push down in another Z wave here. Now that would be looking at this as W, X, Y, X, and Z to the downside. Now if this is the case, we've actually come up quite well here into this one-to-one area of the previous X wave. So what we would be looking for here within this count is 3 waves to the downside. Now another thing that we need to be careful of is that we could also potentially be looking at this slightly different and say that this is A, B, and C into this point here. And effectively here we could be looking for an X wave. Once again, we have come up into this area here of this 0.382 to this 50%. So we need to be on the lookout that this potentially could start to move to the downside. This would have a lower target. However, our one-to-one would be here at this 1125, 0.618 here at this 2739. Now, within our bullish count, what we were arguing here is that potentially we have a series of 1s and 2s here. And what we then want to see is price starting to push up. Now, we need to see a move up at least to this zone here of this 1618 at this 158 to start confirming this idea of having these additional 1s and 2s here. And effectively within this, what we'd be tracking is the latest part of this count, where what we are saying is that this is potentially another 1, 2 here. And we're looking for a bigger third wave here. 148.62 is going to be that target area that we're looking for here as a potential third wave. Now within this count, what I was looking for originally was the potential that this move has already completed to the upside as a 5-wave structure, where what we'd be saying is that this move is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have a 5th wave extension. Now, if this is the case here, what we'd then be looking for would be something along these lines, where this could be potentially a wave 1, and we could be looking for this possibility of a wave 2. Now, within this idea, what we were saying is that we have this as a W, this is an X, and we were looking for this Y wave. Now, we have come down into this typical zone already, so we've already come down to this 50%, but there is still potential here that price could push down one more time. And the way that I would be looking at that would be that potentially we could be seeing something like this within the Y wave, where we actually look at this as an A wave, and we look at this as a bigger A, B, and then we're looking for a C wave. Now, if we do look for a 5-wave move up here, where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, what I will be looking for is the potential to come back up here into this yellow box area. 100.48 and this 95.64 is going to be that range we're looking for. We do have some nice confluence here with this golden pocket and some of these previous highs that we've got in this area, so going to be keeping an eye on that zone if we do see price move up there. But as well as that, we do have the potential channel retest over here towards this level of this 96.73. so if we do see price look to push to the upside here, as long as we stay below this high here at this 104.36, I will be anticipating this possibility of another leg to the downside, looking to push us towards this 82.33. Now, this would be looking for that as a possibility of this being a Y wave to the downside. Now, if, however, we've actually completed already into this point here, what we could start to see is 5-wave structure to the upside. If we start to develop bigger impulsive structure, even though this current structure to the upside here is not looking very impulsive, unless we look at this as some kind of a diagonal, but it wouldn't really work because the wave 3 would be longer than the wave 1 and the wave 5 would be too short, so it doesn't really work that nicely in that sense. So I'm still looking at this potentially as a corrective move here, where, like I said, we're looking for that possibility of this being a bigger ABC, in which case that one-to-one could potentially look to bring us down towards this zone, this $82.12. Now, the one-to-one of this W wave over here would actually be this 85.13. So going to be keeping an eye on that level as well. If we do see price get a 5-wave move to the upside here, we need to be careful of that potential. We could still see this fall off to the downside, looking to bring us back down into some of these lower levels. Now, the key thing here is that if we're looking for an impulse, what we want to see after this completes is we want to see this develop as this 5-wave move, which we've got already. We want to see 3 waves to the downside, and then we need to see price push up towards this 1618 area. So given the current price where we are now, 1.618 would be up at 91.57. If we do see that additional push to the downside into that golden pocket, what we could see is that 186.62 is that area that we look for. And then if we look to push down a little bit deeper into that 786, which would be that 78.50, then effectively 1.618 would be 172.51. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that idea that, you know, if we do still have a little bit more downside here, we could see this still push to the upside afterwards, but we can only get confirmation by getting that push above that level here, where we see price push past is 185.64. The reason we've got to be careful with this idea of you know, this extension is within the corrective move here, looking at this as a bigger WXYXZ, what we could have is that this move here could just be WXY into this high, another X wave, and this could just be ABC. So if this is the case, what this means is that this could be our A wave, this is our B wave, this is our C wave, and that could then complete this corrective move. So the next thing that we'd be potentially expecting after this would be a bigger 3-wave move. So if we get this as a bigger W and X and a Y to the downside, we need to be careful. If we only get 3 waves up, this could then align with the idea of the Z wave starting. So the ideal thing we want to see here for that bullish count is 3 waves down, and then we need to see price looking to break past that 1618. If we just see 3 waves down here, we get another 3 waves up, then potentially we could start to form this is a bigger A wave. We'd then get a B wave at a later date and then look for continuation to the downside in this Z wave. So we need to be on the lookout for this potential of actually looking to break down from these levels. Having a look at the daily CPR lines here, what we can see is that price actually reacted to the downside. We found support on our S2 line, and now we have moved back to the upside. So some interesting areas that I'm going to keep an eye on here is these central lines. If we do manage to hold these central lines between this $93 and this $92.58, potentially what we could see is price get gravitated back to the upside. So areas of interest up here would be this $94.54 and the previous daily high, which is sitting here towards this 95.08. If we do push up higher here, other targets for today would be this 96.76. We have this 98.52 and this 177 as possible targets for today. Now, if we do look at this move up here, this R2 line is sitting quite nicely on this channel line as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. If this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that could align with the idea of this move being a bigger flat correction, and then we look to break down from that point. Though if we do get a 5-wave move, we just need to remember until we actually break the low, we need to be careful of extension to the upside. Now, if we do look to push to the downside and we look to reject off these levels, potentially we could see price move into this 86.57 and this 84.80 as possible targets for today. Okay, so coming over here and having a look at the weekly CPR lines, what we can see is that we have this CPR is engulfing this one. Now, typically what this means is that we're going to see some sideways ranging price action over the period of this next week. But what this can also mean sometimes is that we could potentially break. So if we do see price look to maintain above these central lines here, which are sitting between this 93.25 to this 91.69, what we could then see is price get gravitated to the upside. Targets to the upside for this week is this 97.67, 101.69, and this level here of this 106.65. So we're going to be keeping an eye on those as possible extensions to the upside. If, however, we see price start to reject to the downside, we have already interacted with this S1 line. Other targets to the downside that we have is this 83.61, and we have this level here of this 79.91 as potential downside targets for this week. Now, if we flip over onto the monthly here, we also do have some new monthly lines. So what we can see here is that these are also engulfed by the previous month. Now, this could also align with the idea of seeing some range bound price action starting to develop. But sometimes when we get these and they are unchanged, what we can see is that price can actually look to break from these positions. Now, if we are looking at this as a potential rejection point, we could potentially look to reject at this 95.21, this 98.09, and this area here of this 101.10. If we do see a rejection off of these central CPR lines here, price targets to the downside for this month are sitting here at this level, this 81.32. We have this 70.46 and this lower level here of this 53.61 as downside targets for this month. If, however, we see price looking to move back to the upside and we manage to reclaim these, price targets to the upside for this month would be this 109.02. We have this 125.73 and this level here of this 137. Now, price doesn't always have to interact with all these different levels, but these are just potential pivot points within the market should price move into those zones. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.